It's realistic science fiction time. Yes, I finally read Carl Sagan's Contact. So hello, my name is Zach. In this channel, I mostly review science fiction and fantasy books, but also read a bunch of other stuff. And today I'm reviewing the classic of science fiction, Carl Sagan's Contact. So this book, if you haven't heard it by now, is about a radio astronomer who detects a signal from another planet. So it sounds very similar to a recent book I read a couple years ago, Three Body Problem, which was turned into, of course, the Netflix series. And this is the predecessor to that. This came out ages ago. It was made a movie in 97 with Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey. So almost a predecessor to Interstellar, which was a great science fiction movie. But Contact is a very similar premise to Three Body Problem. And having read Three Body Problem first, this was probably the inspiration for it. So it's a great story. I was actually blown away by how much I liked it because it's only 5 hours. So that's definitely one of the strengths. So use that as a segue to talk about strengths, and what I really liked about the book was, one, the concise storytelling. So it's only a 5-hour audiobook, so very short read, which means everything's very tight. This is not one of your modern fantasy novels that I do like and enjoy, like a Brandon Sanderson 40-hour novel, epic fantasy going over every detail, or Robert Jordan tugging the braids. This is just very tight writing. It's Carl Sagan, who is a legend in the science/cosmos world for talking about space. So the writing is very not as fluffy, I guess. It is maybe has a little bit of scientific, but the book is definitely a human-based. So that's what I enjoyed, was how grounded the book was and how this is like a grounded science fiction story. So right before this, I read The Expanse book 2, which is also an amazing 5 out of 5 story for me about people in space and fighting off an invading threat of a alien substance, a protomolecule, but there's spaceships, there's travel, and that is not present in Contact. It's not even like a Three Body Problem where it is kind of taken to the next level and aliens are coming. And this one is a very human story about a radio astronomer who is kind of like this all-American girl who hears a signal and then through science discovers that there is more to the signal. So I really like the descriptions of kind of the scientific process, that it was very believable. Even though Three Body Problem was very believable, but just taken kind of to the nth degree, as especially in the later books, book 2 and 3. But here in Contact, kind of the really cool puzzle solving aspect, which maybe speaks to my some of the STEM background in computer science and algorithms and figuring things out, is the whole radio signal encoding. And I thought that was really, really cool. It really had me intellectually stimulated. So I guess this is not really a spoiler at this point because the book is so old. There's a movie, but they figure out that in this radio transmission that they finally pick up, that there's like another layer to how the signal is interpreted. And then as they kind of decode that, they see another layer. And it's just really cool how there's kind of like this mathematical signal and layering to just what what the characters thought was a radio signal, and how there's so much more there. And that concept of this like hidden world in math is basically the crux of the book. And that was what I really liked, was the later half. So once they figure out the signal and kind of come together as a society, utopia almost, to build this, the machine that they call it. And once they don't know what the machine is, it's just this machine that they find the blueprints for, encoded in the signal, and they learn about like repeating. And again, this kind of plays on to some of my very early networking classes where you learn about reliability and backup, sending the signal multiple times because it's going to come in chunks. So that was, it's all totally believable. I totally bought into it because I know that redundancy of signals is totally a thing, especially with the rotation and how they get it from other satellites. Yeah, it's just really cool. I love the geeky science in this book. And they figure the signal, they build the machine, and there's the subplot of this whole religious kind of aspect of how the governments are interpreting what to do with the machine. But what I really loved was then the description, speaking of the great descriptions and the great writing, was the journey of the machine. And I love that journey as the astronauts, cosmonauts, whatever you want to call them, make that trip in the machine, and they're taken on this subway roller coaster system to the Vega system. And it's just really cool as they are, hit the stop on the subway and they see the next part of the universe, and they're whisked off to the next part, and they eventually make it to Vega. And yeah, it's just the descriptions were worth the price of admission, I guess you could say. And reading the book, it was really, really well done. I totally believed it. Maybe as a negative, what I didn't like was when they finally meet the Vegans, that everything happened off screen, that the Vegans extracted all they needed to know from humans from the dreams during the journey. So it was a bit anticlimactic meeting the Vegans, because they appear as whatever that person most wanted or would find most comfortable. So like the main character, it appears as her father, and all the other pilots, or astronauts, the person that the Vegan appears as is whatever they most would feel comfortable with, being on an alien planet, which obviously logically makes sense, but it's a bit of a letdown that we're not actually shown what the aliens could look like. But that's part of the mystery and one of the good things, because at the end, so the whole maybe kind of reveal reminds me a bit of other tropes in science fiction, which is this ruined civilization, that in this discussion with the Vegans, that they admit that they don't even know who built the subway system, this interstellar black hole wormhole travel system. They're just the caretakers of it, and they're just trying to connect all the other planets and intelligent life, and they're just the curators of kind of the zoo. And what that left me with at the end, of course, besides the ambiguity of the ending, is the sense of awe and wonder that they finally make it all the way to Vega on the other side of the Milky Way. They see how teeming with life the universe is, and that there's just a small speck of dust in the larger universal scale. So yes, we got out of the galaxy, but there's so many other galaxies out there, and that the Vegans and all they've accomplished kind of networking or finding the remnants of whoever originally built this subway system they're just one speck in the large universe. And it's really left me with that sort of sense of awe, and that we're just a speck of dust in the universe floating along on a planet, that Earth itself is just so small that we make it all the way to Vega, and they're just one more small piece of the larger universe of other galaxies, other solar systems. Yeah, just the vastness of space is, of course, mind-boggling. Can't really comprehend it as a human, but yeah, it was that sense of awe at the end. And the ending, it ends on kind of this very vague note that everything gets wiped, and that was maybe another dislike, because it is a product of its time. They bring film cameras, which the film gets underexposed, and they lose all evidence that they went on this journey. But even if it was kind of updated for modern times, I'm sure it was, if it was recorded to memory card, the memory card was still wiped. And of course, it would have a plot device that it's all about the internal journey, that these pilots or astronauts only have the experience in their mind. They don't really have any physical evidence of meeting the people of Vega. So that was kind of a letdown, how it ends on this ambiguous note. But it does kind of, the point of the novel is, I thought what I took of it was, just this sense of awe and wonder that we're shown the cosmos, and we're shown just how small we are in relation to the world, and how even the the things, the Vegas, even they don't know what the larger mysteries of the universe. And the fact that it's all in math was a really cool concept, that the secrets of the universe are encoded in pi, which was a really cool thing. That one of the things is, if you factor out pi kind of exponentially, eventually you get to an encoding where it's ones and zeros, and then there's secret messages in pi. This really cool stuff and really cool concepts of, if you follow science or just read up science news, that how the universe runs on math, and how it's weirdly a lot of things have math-based things. This whole, maybe it's into like simulation theory, that we're living in simulation because everything lines up so neatly in math, that how would it be possible to have a number like pi that repeats forever and then could theoretically encode some magic numbers when you get to like the billionth digit. But really cool concepts about thinking about the universe and math and this kind of like larger architect plan with whoever built even the subway wormhole system that the Vegas are using. So really cool stuff. As you can tell, it was science fiction that I really enjoyed. Even if it's not on the space opera, galactic opera scale like a Dune or Three Body Problem or The Expanse, which I'm currently reading, it's still a great read. The fact that it's 5 hours of really just tight writing and just gets to the plot, gets to the story, was honestly a positive just to read it in like a day or two. It's a great story, and I highly recommend everyone to read it, which is Carl Sagan's Contact. So thanks for watching this video, and have a great day.